Hey, welcome to another episode of the Fan Film Podcast. We are on episode 44. Ooh. And that's going to be April 25th, 2009.
My dogs have just started barking.
Your dog's about to make another appearance today.
Yeah.
Seriously, we should have a show. Just your dog.
Interviewing them
The dog.
about fan
Put
films?
the mic on. We want to ask her some questions.
Interview them about fan films?
Is it a he or a she?
I got two she's and one he.
Okay, attention dogs. How are you feeling today? Sounds like you're doing good. So, do you have any favorite fan films?
Listen up, y'all. I got a little story to tell you. It's about a doctor, Dr. Indiana Jones. And all you forces of evil, you better watch out, 'cause the doctor is in.
Yeah.
And Mr. Chris.
Yes.
This is Mr. Chris Mosier.
Hey, how are you, Chris?
I'm here with Fanboy Will and a guy you might know, Mr. Eric Zala, I believe is his last name.
That's right. Hey, Chris.
I think this is the first time we've ever met. Eric, pleasure to meet you.
Yeah. Hey, how's it going, Chris Stromboli?
So how'd you guys hook up? I mean, Indiana Jones came out in 1981, or I should say Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yep.
And I think Eric had the bright idea to emulate the film on his own into a...
It was Chris.
Was it a Chris's idea? Okay.
Basically, I was, July of 81, I was 10 years old. I went and saw the movie with my dad. I was a huge Star Wars fan, absolutely obsessive, crazy, insane Star Wars fan, huge collector, was a big Han Solo fan, and of course Raiders was being passionately promoted by Lucasfilm, and it seemed very cool. So I went and saw it, and really in that first viewing, it just sort of split my brain in half and changed my whole world. And as many little boys around that age wanted to do, I wanted nothing more than to play Indiana Jones and wear the hat and wear the jacket and just kind of role play. And so really the idea came from wanting to pursue a fantasy, if anything, just sort of role play. And anyway, bought the comic book, and Eric and I rode the school bus together, and it turns out I went to the comic book, and we were both Raiders fans, and that's how it kind of all started. I called Eric up, and he had done a movie in 6th grade with his class, a 16mm movie, and I thought Eric would certainly be a good person to know something about filmmaking, and I said, hey, I'm remaking Raiders of Lost Ark. Do you want to help? And he said, oh, sure. And, I'd really done nothing up until that point except buy the script and the comic book and cast myself as Indy. And then we met in his basement and listened to some real bad sound effects records, and the dream was born.
I could definitely relate to you because I was about eight when I saw it in the theater, and it was actually my first theater movie of all time.
Oh, really?
My first one I've ever been to.
Wow,
Raiders of the Lost Ark, the first film I ever saw on the silver screen.
Do you remember it?
And it blew, like you said, my head almost flew off. It was like the most amazing thing in the world. And as soon as I got home, I took my dog's leash and I was like throwing over the jungle gym and swinging on it.
Yeah, there you go.
Exact same thing. I could totally relate. So
my first bullwhip was I took a broomstick, cracked it in half, and
yeah, that's cool.
Duct tape and duct tape some rope to the end of it, and used that.
That's a little more imaginative than me. I just said, there's Rex's leash. I'll just throw that over it.
We can understand the impulse, yeah.
What made you even think that, hey, you know what? I could actually do what they did. Did you think you could capture all those things, or did you have any doubts about it? Or
Well, this is Erica. I think it certainly helped that we were so young and had very little idea in retrospect of what it is that we were getting into. They say that kids don't know what they can't do, and that was a benefit in this case, because had we known it was going to consume our entire childhood, 7 years, we would have been scared to death of trying it. But we didn't know, and we just sort of launched ahead, and following year, Jayson Lamb, third member of the trio, joined us, and it was about that time that the full scope of it kind of revealed itself as to be this mammoth project, and we decided, all right, well, we're gonna keep at it, and again, having no idea how we're going to do it, how we're going to do the boulder, the ghost coming out of the Ark, anything, hell, where we're going to find a girl to play Marion, for that matter. But just bit by bit, piece by piece, scene by scene, we just one foot in front of the other. We figured it out, whereas I think, kids, as adults, we're all too aware of our real or imagined limitations. So I'm just really grateful that we were naive enough to think we could pull it off.
I'm to this day, I am utterly amazed at what you accomplished. Being the ages you were, and being the limitations of the materials, the time, the effort, all that stuff, I just find it completely, to this day, including all these new modern fanboy, the fan film movies, all the bells and whistles and special effects. To this day, in my personal opinion, it stands as one of the best examples of what a fan film should be. Paying tribute and homage to the thing you're so passionate about, and actually coming extremely close to actually pulling it off completely, emulating from shot to shot. You guys are doing it's incredible. It's almost shot for shot. It's insane. Because I'm a huge Raiders fan, and I've watched the movie 10 billion times. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you have, and everybody else. Yeah. So, I'm just like, wow, they even included this part. And wow, they even included with the girl with the blinking eyelids. They even put that in there. That's great. So,
thanks. It was
fantastic, guys. For real.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Attention to detail was really, really important to us. And one thing that challenge that we had, of course, is back in the 80s. This was before you could rent it, at your local Blockbuster. So we actually had to recreate those details by memory. Raiders was released the following year in 1982, so Chris and I went to the movie theater and just committed as much to memory as possible. Mm-hmm. And that summer, I spent a whole summer drawing over 600 storyboards.
Wow!
And captured as much as the detail, the eyelids girl, the Life magazine, and the Pan Am Clipper.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that little Life, the old Life magazine.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Chris messing around.
Yeah, Chris found that at a old used bookstore in New York, actually. And so we worked hard for those details, and it's I think one of the most gratifying things when fans kind of notice the little things.
Yeah, when they pick up on it.
Yeah.
I was asking, let's get into kind of the questions you get asked all the time. For example, I actually read Clive Young's great book, Homemade Hollywood. Mm-hmm. Plug to Clive. He's an old friend of ours. And you talked about the construction of the boulder a little bit in the book. Could you maybe tell our listeners who haven't read the book or heard already how you guys made that gigantic boulder for the opening scene there?
Let's see. I think our first boulder was, we were, again, extremely young and very enthusiastic and kind of short-sighted. So what we did was our first boulder, we went into the swamp and hacked down a bunch of bamboo and got a bunch of cardboard and a bunch of duct tape and gray spray paint, and, we stayed up all night constructing this massive frame kind of taped together with this frame out of bamboo and wrapped it in cardboard, and it looked really cool and sort of round and real kind of clunky looking and really kind of cool. And Eric and I were very excited and realized as the sun was coming up, because we'd stayed up all night making this thing, that it was much too large to get out of my bedroom, and we just didn't put it together. We tried to fit it through the door and ended up just breaking it apart and getting terribly discouraged. And so our second one was it the spool, Eric?
Yes.
Yeah, the cable spool. So we found some old wooden cable spools that they wrap telephone cable around.
Oh.
And they do make them pretty large, but we, for some reason, gravitated towards, I think it was just availability, a rather small one. We thought that, okay, well, what we'll do is we'll wrap it, again, in cardboard to kind of seal it and make it sort of a cylinder. and spray paint it gray and roll it through the garage, and we'll shoot it from a really low angle so it'll tower over me. And it ended up just looking so ridiculous and pathetic, this like little cardboard wooden cylinder rolling at my shins, behind me. And so we scrapped that footage. Eric, you want to pick up from here?
Yeah. So so the boulder number 3 was a weather balloon. I ordered it out of the back of a comic book, and made lots and lots of paper mache, and I was going to inflate the weather balloon with a reversed canister vacuum and cover it with paper mache, right? Well, I get as far as the first layer and come down the next morning to find the damn thing had popped. So that didn't work. Boulder number 4, chicken wire. I cut up my hand bending this chicken wire into this spherical frame. I was going to cover that with chicken wire. Well, a hurricane hit Mississippi that summer, and I still remember looking out the living room window, watching hurricane winds buff our poor little chicken wire frame boulder, sending it pounding down the lawn into the water. Have no idea where it is today. Boulder number 5 turned out to be the trick. My mom had suggested this fiberglass specialist who did custom fiberglass for boats. Anyway, he let Jason and I dig a hole in his backyard, and I dropped a plumb line and used it to scrape the sides of the hole so it would be a perfect half sphere. And then lined the hole with fiberglass until it hardened, popped out one half, and then repeated the process and joined the two halves together. So after about 5 years at this point, we finally had our 6-foot-high spherical boulder.
You're patient.
Yeah, which we painted gray and rolled down 2 40-foot-long untreated telephone poles and along the lengths of my mom's garage, made up to look like a cave.
Wow. So I was actually going to ask that for like the next sequence of questions would be the jungle scene at the beginning. When they go into the jungle, they're hacking through all the bush and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Where did you guys film that?
That was in Biloxi, Mississippi, near the Chutecabuff River by Chris's house.
Right.
And
that's convenient.
Yeah.
We shot a lot of stuff pretty much right around our homes. It was it was easy, convenient. There was air conditioning, and our moms always cooked, so it was good.
There you go. You get the free meals. You get the set. You got everything. Don't forget your seats with the names on the back. all that good stuff. Yeah. Let me see. Another thing I noticed at the beginning, right after the jungle scene, the escape scene, there's the famous shot of Indy running and all the natives going behind them, throwing the spears and all that stuff. You guys did that, but you kind of changed something a little bit. He actually runs to a boat, not the plane boat. That's the actual film.
Yeah.
Was that on purpose, or was that just you used what you could, or?
Well, though we were certainly resourceful, and Eric and I typically, it's in our nature not to really give up until we've found exactly what we're looking for. Right. It was a little limited. We couldn't find an aquaplane, sort of a...
Yeah, I was going to say, you guys would be pretty...
we would have... I don't even know if we put the feelers out, Eric, but I can't remember. But
I think we did.
Yeah, I think I pretty much grew up on the river, on the Chutecabuff River. Our house was right on the river. Literally, I could jump off the deck into the water. And so we had a skiff, and I was so comfortable using the skiff that, all the location scouting and everything that I had done in the skiff, it was just something that was easily accessible to us, and we knew how to work it. We felt comfortable with it, and I think we just opted for that.
It actually worked too, because it's completely viable that he'll go right to the shore, he'll get off it, get on a plane at that point.
Yeah. We tried to make it as dramatic as we could, a fiberglass skiff.
Yeah. Hey, man.
Some folks have, obviously we took pains, as Chris has noted, to come as close as possible, although sometimes the concessions that we made, draw the biggest laughs and applause from the audience. And, of course,
right.
Like, for example, the, now famous substitution of a spider monkey for a dog. Chris,
I was going to ask one of my questions. Snickers, right?
Snickers.
Yeah, good old Snickers, huh?
Yeah, Snickers was my puppy, and again, there's a shortage of spider monkeys in Mississippi in the 80s for some reason. So I came to Eric one day and I just said, "Hey, man, let's just use. What do you think about using Snick?" And Eric said, "No,
yeah, good. Yeah, that'll work."
He works. Sit on our shoulder. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
He's a Great Dane. No.
We're trying to start a trend where people carry their dogs awkwardly around on their shoulders. So, keep it going.
Yeah. I figure that's a new look for the millennium here.
Yeah.
But Snick was a great great dog. We often get asked about Snick during Q&A sessions on how he is, and he did pass away, unfortunately, the final year of filming. But the film was dedicated to Snicker's name. So I
saw that. That's good. That's really sweet. So I'm a big animal person. So it was nice to see that.
Cool. Oh, cool. Yeah, he's a good dog.
The uniforms. How did you assemble all the uniforms you wore, from the Nazi regalia to the Indiana Jones hat, his fedora, and his satchel, all that stuff? Did they all come from different places?
Yeah, pretty much. We canvassed the local Goodwill and Salvation Army costumes. Turns out those old Boy Scout uniforms make fine Nazi soldier uniforms.
Yeah, they definitely look good.
Thank you. Let's see. I think I made like 20 traditional Arab costumes on my mom's old sewing machine. That's how we generated like the flags and stuff. Chris's leather jacket, the first year, by illustration of how embarrassingly amateur we were. Our first year, we tried to spray paint this Chris's members only jacket, brown, to make it pass for leather, and of course it peeled right off.
Yeah, just started to flake off like one humid day. It just was started to look really bad.
A couple birthdays and Christmases later enabled us to acquire, things that actually cost money, like a real fedora and a real leather jacket.
Right.
But let's see, Angela's and Marion's famous white cocktail dress. Her mom, the mother of the actress who played Marion, was kind enough to actually custom make a dress.
Very cool.
Her photographs, yeah, and it's exactly as the original is, with the back and the tool.
Yeah, notice all the red decoration on it and all that stuff. All the attention to details there. That's
one key difference, though, for some mysterious reason, the neckline, in the original is plunges south, and it's very high in her version. Yeah, I couldn't understand the cause of the difference. So that's how we got our costumes. Really a plethora of different approaches.
Well, now that we're talking Marion, can you talk about your movies, Marion? How you got her to be in it, who she might be?
Well, initially, we actually had a first Marion that we ended up scrapping all the footage. We cast our original Marion was a girl by the name of Stephanie Ewing, who was pretty much, I think, the only girl that I knew.
Any relation to Patrick Ewing?
No. And so we shot a bunch of stuff with Stephanie, and she was a real Southern belle. She had a real strong Southern accent, and I guess it was the sort of planets aligning that Stephanie ended up not telling us that she packed up and moved to Alaska with her family. So we came back the next summer to continue shooting, and all the stuff that we had shot with her, we had to kind of scrap it, and I left it to Eric with the task of finding a new Marion. So, Eric, if you want to...
Yeah, Chris said, there's only one thing I ask, that she's shorter than me. And I delivered. There was a pretty girl at the church I went to, Angela Rodriguez, and I approached her with the oh-so-dubious line of, hey, some friends of mine and I, we're making a movie. Do you want to be in it?
Potential of being a little shady there.
Yeah, exactly. It's an art film. But thankfully, I look a little less mischievous than Chris, so she said yes, again, having no idea what she was really getting into. She had, I think, what our first Marion lacked, that kind of spunk, that feistiness that Marion Ravenwood, two-fisted, drinking heroin had. And it worked great. And Chris, for some reason, we stuck to shooting the beginning scenes, more or less beginning shooting in sequence, with a jungle and cave and college and bar scene. But first wanted to jump ahead to the cabin scene, the big kissing scene near the latter part of the film for some unknown reason. So
Go for it.
Yeah, so we had a closed set, meaning I kicked my little brother out, and in one of the upstairs bedrooms of my mom's big rambling house, made up to look like a cabin, we shot the cabin scene, and Chris had to take his shirt off and everything, which was a big thing for us back then, 13, 14, however the hell young we were. Mm-hmm. And it was the first time, not only the first time that Chris ever kissed a girl on screen, but it was the first time that he ever kissed a girl. And it's Betamax. Yeah.
What did you guys use to film the movie? Just a Beta cam, or was it like a couple cameras? Or
Well, we cut our teeth initially. My mom gave us a little tutorial with she worked at a local TV station, so a camera guy, kind of a pro cameraman, showed us the ins and outs with a pro broadcast camera with a side pack and the 3/4-inch tapes and things like that. But then I think we ended up was it initially renting, or did we buy that Betamax, Eric?
We went after only 2 days renting. We found out that was impractical and committed to actually buying a Betamax camera.
Right, and we used that Betamax camera summer after summer, and we ended up just putting it through hell, and it just ended up just burning the camera out and killing it. And there were times where we had to bring it for repair, and we'd lose weeks at a time. And so the camera finally died, and then Jason delivered pizzas for a summer and saved up enough money to buy a VHS camera. So we shot kind of half of it in Betamax and the remaining in VHS. And then at the end, we dumped all the footage onto 3/4-inch analog after keeping shot logs, or Eric keeping shot logs, and then we edited it on 3/4.
I should note that Jason, our cameraman, this was back in the age where the tape deck was separate from the camera itself and connected by a thick honking cable. So in addition to the 3-pound camera that he's carrying on his shoulder, he's got a 5-pound tape deck slung over his shoulder. Poor guy.
Yeah.
I remember that. And the batteries were 100 pounds each.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and lasted for, one shot.
I never had that camera growing up.
Took 2 days to charge
it. I remember just being very, very big. That's all I really remember. It
was big, and they had
huge thing.
Yeah, they hadn't really perfected the masking of the internal workings of the camera yet. So the microphones were pretty much mounted on the front of the cameras, so you could hear the tape heads inside the camera in a lot of our shots, where we didn't dub over the audio, the room tone, so you could hear this, running in the background of the heads turning in the camera.
Well, it's because you have the music, because I kind of drowns it out a little bit.
Yeah, in some places, you can still sort of hear it, but we tried to clean it up as best we could.
All right, so let's jump ahead, Chris. The insane bar scene.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't get to see the whole film like Fanboy Will did, but I did check out the fight scene. That was just crazy, especially all the fire that you guys did. You a bunch of pyros, and you did that all in your mom's basement.
Yeah, we had a time when of course I stunt doubled for the Ratty Nepalese, so for whatever reason I asked the guys, we'd be using isopropyl alcohol up to that point to douse the room and light it aflame, but for some reason I asked the guys to use gasoline on my back that day.
Oh boy.
Yeah, still mysterious. And I had a fire retardant raincoat underneath my costume, so I thought I was playing it safe. Anyway, the guys ignited my back, and I stood up and hit my mark and screamed and called cut. And then kids ran forth with smothering blankets and wound up fanning the flames higher. We wound up blasting you with a fire extinguisher, and the fire was put out, and we got the shot, and we were jubilant. But our mom spotted somehow the shot with me with my back on fire, and for some reason had a problem with this, so they shut us down for the summer. So no more fire until we actually found a way around that. Chris, you want to take that?
Well, we promised our moms, that we'll be very careful under the supervision of an adult. So we opted to have an adult supervisor, and so we knew a friend that both of our moms knew, and his name was Peter Kiefer, and absolutely one of the nicest, fun guys, that he was just, hanging around, and he was an actor, and he was just older than us, and it was a perfect match because he, in many instances was far less responsible than we were, and ended up saying, more fire here and more fire there, and so, it was adult supervision, but he really let us go for it, and that's I think, under controlled circumstances, that's how we got that fantastic shot where literally the entire room is on fire, soaked with gallons of isopropyl alcohol, and so we always remember Peter, kind of watching over us. And
how many times did the neighbors call the fire department on you?
Never, actually. We had the police called on us multiple times, and I seem to always be talking my way out of situations, with the cops. There was a time where we were shooting in downtown Gulfport in this back alley, and make a long story short, anyway, an old man who owned one of the buildings where we were shooting around, thought that we were shooting child pornography films.
Oh my God!
And ended up calling the cops, and all these cops and an undercover cop, surrounded us in the alleyway, and asked us, what we were doing.
A little bit of a departure from what you were actually doing.
Yeah, it's just somewhat, and
it's different.
Talked us out of that one, and then multiple other times.
How did you guys pull off the bullet ricochets? Did you use squibs or?
Jason figured out this cool device. He basically had a board, and he had some brass curtain rods that he had attached to the board, and on one end he had sort of a wire that, two wires coming out of either end. One was attached to a screwdriver, the other end you plugged into just a wall circuit, and so when you took the end of the screwdriver, which was attached to kind of a rubber glove, so it grounded you and you don't electrocute yourself, it closed the circuit. And to each of these curtain rods, he had a wire attached to a vitamin capsule filled with gunpowder dipped in wax, and he ran these wires up through the walls and embedded the vitamin capsule and kind of covered it with plaster and put some baby powder in there so we get the nice flash of smoke, and then plugged it in, and then like a squib board, when he touched the screwdriver to each corresponding brass curtain rod, it ignited the vitamin capsule, so we had our gunshots.
You guys are way ahead of your time there with the effects.
Jason always figured stuff out. He's pretty clever that way.
Is his last name MacGyver by any chance?
Do you have a mullet? Felt that way.
So, among all this chaos, the fire, the explosions, people getting, were there any serious injuries or people getting hurt on the set at all?
That's the funny thing is that, Chris is Indiana Jones. I played Belloc, the evil French archaeologist. I'm the director, mostly behind the scenes. Yet I'm the one who kept managing to get hurt. Firstly, with the aforementioned fire stunt where my hair was singed and started to burn. I broke my arm, I think, rehearsing the pit scene one year, and then I nearly died in a ill-advised attempt to make a plaster mold of my face because, my character blows up at the end. And so I got brought to the hospital on more than one occasion. But Chris escaped that. I think the closest, thank God, Chris underwent was heat stroke when driving behind the truck. So the layers of leather and stunt padding in a sweltering Mississippi summer.
Yikes.
Do you want to get into the car chase for the Ark?
Yeah, we could get into that.
The truck chase, I should say. You borrowed a pickup truck from where?
Borrow it. We actually, there was a gentleman that I think Eric's mom knew, and he had this old truck that was in a swamp. It was literally buried in a swamp behind Eric's house, and it was kind of buried underground, not completely, but, pretty well embedded in the earth. And so we got permission to, dig it up. So we pulled this truck out of the earth and cleaned it up and restored it the best we could. We ripped the engine out of it, so which, of course, prompted us when we actually went to go shoot to schedule the entire shoot around whether or not the truck was being pushed or pulled by another vehicle. And then Eric went through the painstaking process of sort of designing the truck and building stuff around it, to make it look like an old Nazi kind of Mercedes vehicle. We found the original grill in the ground as well, attached that, but on top of that, so of course when Indy is hanging off the front and the grill starts to kind of like bend off, and he's pulling the grill bars off, Eric found an old barbecue grill and spray painted it silver and attached that over the main grill, and we had a Mercedes symbol, hood ornament, and Eric's little brother Kurt found the brake cables underneath the truck, and so the remaining old sort of brake cables, and we hooked up this pulley system underneath the truck, attached to ropes that ran through the rusted floorboard of the cab, attached to an old mallet or a hammer, I think it was. And so in order to stop the truck, you had to sort of like brace your feet on the dashboard and pull up on this hammer, which activated the pulleys, which pulled these old brake cables underneath the truck, which gradually slowed the truck down. It was certainly not a precise braking system. We had to give about probably a good 20 or 30 feet to slow the truck down.
You guys definitely wanted your shot.
Yeah, we did.
Okay, so adding to the dangerous subject, you got a lot of snakes in the movie. Where'd you find those guys? Are they from like the Mississippi swamp? A lot of those guys? Or you get them from like a pet store?
Yeah, we majority of the snakes, are fake. We bought them from Toys R Us using our allowance. But for the close-ups, of course, we needed real ones. And a local pet store called Man's Best Friend was kind enough to allow us to borrow them for about a space of 3 hours. So we actually planned all the close-ups back to back, so we could knock those out. Yeah. So they brought them over in pillowcases, 3 snakes total, and they were very cooperative. One of them went missing, and Chris actually discovered the snake had crawled through his belt loops, actually a makeshift belt.
Yep.
So, but it was cool. It was we felt very professional working with actual snake wrangling.
So there's only 3 live ones in the entire shoot, huh?
Yeah, only 3.
We cut back and forth and a lot of close-ups and a lot of rubber hoses and a lot of other rubber snakes.
Speaking of which, where did you guys film the part where you actually go down into the chamber, where he's lowered down into the snake pit? And was that was that made up, or did you guys have an actual location you went to?
Yeah, that was Eric's mom's basement again.
Really?
Yeah, we shot.
Oh, cool. Yeah,
we had this huge basement room, this antechamber under Eric's mom's house, and Eric, you want to tell them about the heating grate or the heat?
Yeah. So just about all the interiors were shot in my mom's basement, which had this big basement, and the Well of the Souls, where the snakes were. That was the biggest room in the whole basement, and it just so happened that there was this broken down floor furnace in the hallway just above it. And I asked my mom if we could remove it. She said, "Yeah." So I paid some technician $40 to remove it and cart it away. And we had this fantastic hole in the downstairs hallway. And you look down, and there's 20 feet down. There's this room in the basement, and we thought this is perfect. So we set to work to making it up like the Well of the Souls. We engineered this hieroglyphic stencil, and we spray painted hieroglyphics. Through spray painting the stencil all over the place. So to this day, actually, there's hieroglyphics festooning the walls.
Really?
Yeah, and we live across the street from the beach. So we Chris, Jason, and I, and my little brother Kurt brought over bucket after bucket of sand, and that stuff's heavy. We carted over enough sand to cover the floor well, and of course got the aforementioned rubber snakes, and cut hoses to make it look like snakes. And for the giant jackal statue, we had this old broken down hot water heater, which became the body of the jackal, and for arms we strung these black poles from the ceiling, and for the head, an overturned flower pot with a jaw built on it, and 46 individual cut styrofoam teeth stuck on individual nails to form the teeth of the snarling jackal. And that's what Chris wound up climbing up and rocking back and forth and breaking through our breakaway wall, except, well, if you've seen our film, you know it. The jackal fell the other way. But the wall came down all the same, and it did. Yeah, and we thought, okay, well, we're going to declare that good.
That's all right, guys. We're not going to recreate that one.
Yeah.
It worked. Worked for me.
Yeah, that was a good laugh.
No details overlooked. Good stuff. Good stuff. The scene where you guys, you know, when Indy makes it off and he's on the battleship and all that stuff. Where did you actually get a hold of that battleship? How did you get a hold of that battleship? That was in the scene there.
Well, the United States Navy had a retired sort of military park on the Back Bay of Alabama, and it had old naval war machines there. And so, you know, on top of in addition to the USS Alabama battleship, classic World War II battleship that was there in the water, there's also a submarine and in the water as well. And in the early years, I scheduled a meeting with the commanding officer, Captain Deathley, and showed up in my little suit and had a meeting with him and asked him, if we could use the battleship and use the submarine. And
all of 14 years old at the time.
I was promptly turned down. And so, we kept shooting, kept working away, and of course, this is a perfect location. So I went back the next year and asked again, got turned down again. So I went back a third year, year number 3, and he finally said, yes, stop bothering me, So
enough already.
Yeah, and so we got our submarine. I think we shot there for, 2-3 days, Eric?
No, actually just one day.
Oh, one day, that's right. We knocked everything out in one day.
Yeah.
That's right.
Any personal favorite scenes, guys? Or
I think I can speak for Chris when I say the in both the original and ours, I think the truck scene probably ranks near the top. Still the case, Chris?
Oh yeah. And certainly fond memories of the kissing scene.
Oh yeah.
I was nervous, but
and Chris has noted that was actually scarier than the truck scene going on.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's actually true.
And what do you think now?
There's more at stake somehow.
What do you think now?
That?
More scary?
Oh,
Kissing
now?
the girl?
Oh, yeah, it's terrifying. I'm still scared of girls. It's, you look back on it and it's you can still sort of transport yourself into that youthful moment, that sort of pitter-patter of your heart and, sweaty palmed teenage moment where, you're sort of overwhelmed and, you really don't know what to think. I think with everything that Eric and I had done up to that point with fire and all the really dangerous stuff, the truck scene, and I was still certainly excited about it, felt a lot easier to do for some reason than, kissing a girl.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just
have you guys heard from her at all since? Or
yeah, actually we fell out of touch for a while since our big premiere in 1989. For about 16 years, we were out of touch. Before our film was discovered, I sprung for having it transferred to DVD, and I tracked her down and sent her a copy, and she wrote back and said, "Oh, cool, thanks." And then it got discovered, and that led to us actually having being invited to do a screening out where she lives now in Minneapolis. So I think it was year before last, we were reunited for her for the first time in 18 years on stage at the Minneapolis premiere of Lost Ark, the adaptation, and that was pretty cool. Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah, she said she's got a son now, and she says I can't wait to show it to him, so he'll think that his mom's really cool.
I was also going to ask you, I guess going more towards the end of it, the Well of Soul scenes with the ghost. How did you pull up the spirits that are flying around?
You mean at the end, of course, where they open the Ark and
right.
they're on the island and all the Nazis melt?
Well, again,
all the good stuff.
yeah, that's Eric built the set and figured out the dry ice with the Ark, and then Jayson basically handled all the special effects. We did it outside. The scene, the altar scene, was right outside where we actually shot the bar, and so Jayson with the ghosts, he figured out a way to. What we did was we shot all the initial kind of choreography with the actors live action, and then Jayson took that footage back and had this fish tank, filled it with water, backed it with black felt, blew it out with a bunch of light, and hooked up the video camera. And they had these little puppets with like little bed sheets, like strands of bed sheets and stuff attached to these sticks that were painted black, so they kind of blended in with the black felt background. And watching the actors sort of writhe about and look up the sky and look at the passing ghosts, choreograph these bed sheets floating through the water and videotaped it. And then what we did was we brought it to a local TV station and laid them on, kind of superimposed them.
Very cool. It looked great.
It came out, yeah, surprisingly convincing,
And then straight to, of course, Belloc's head exploding there.
Always a favorite, yeah, and Toad's face melting and Dietrich imploding. Yeah, Jayson really, I think, I would venture to say that the melting scene, as we affectionately referred to it as, was his favorite scene, because he really got to go to town with all the gore and special effects.
I remember being a kid and seeing that on the screen and being horrified, but at the same time being like, that's friggin' cool, like, wow, that's disgusting, but wow, it's cool.
It's a strange mixture of emotion, yeah.
Yep, and this is one of the reasons I love the film. Just one of many.
Yeah,
one of many. I don't know how many times I've seen it, but you guys, I can't count how many times I've seen that movie. I still watch it to this day. So,
well, we've seen it a lot. Yeah, I think though we've spent 7 years recreating it, I think a lot of people think that we've seen it, thousands of times, and actually we haven't seen it as many times as you would think.
Really?
As Eric referenced, we work from memory for the first 3 years, and then after that, I think we only saw it maybe a handful more times, and
you guys used comic book adaptation and all that stuff. So you reference that at all, or?
Yeah, we I think we used that. We used fan magazines. We used records. We used photographs. We used absolutely anything we get our hands on. But when the Laserdisc came out, then we used it as scene reference.
Okay.
And went to the movie theater and stuck a tape recorder in and recorded some of the sound effects and some of the music. And,
I was going to ask you. That's cool.
Yeah, and then after that, I don't think we really watched it much. I think we were just sort of, everything was sort of set into motion. And the last time I saw it was American Film Institute did 100 Years of Cinema, and that was one of the films that was being featured, of course, and they were screening it here in Hollywood at the ArcLight. And I thought, well, it's almost a 30-year-old movie, and I'm sure that a few people will show up, and it was packed, and I still got just as excited watching it as I did when I think I first saw it. I was so just certainly the airplane scene, seeing the airplane scene again was so cool, and the movie definitely holds up.
Hi, this is Christopher Motion chiming in. That's the end of this week's Fan Film Podcast. Join us next week as Chris and Eric join us for part 2 of their interview with, of course, Jayson in spirit, and we'll discuss further where this little fan film ended up. See you then. Peace.
Listen up, y'all. I got a little story to tell you. It's about a doctor, Dr. Indiana Jones. And all you forces of evil, you better watch out, 'cause the doctor is in. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Doctor, I got a powerful disease. Gives me a fever for adventure overseas. And I need a partner. I can't change the temple. He will bring light, drinking blood and whipping people. He'll do what's right. Saving slaves is never simple. We'll have the time of our life. Indiana Jones, searching for some stones. Indiana Jones is gonna take you higher. Archaeology ain't all it's cracked up to be. Indiana Jones will set your heart on fire. Doctor, doctor, there's trembling on my knees. You've got the voodoo smile, you're praying to Kali. But little Sean Brown won't ever let you break my heart, 'cause it's time to flee the scene inside a mineshaft roller cart. There's a bridge across the river, will we make it on time? Surrounded by their evil, so give me a sign. Take your sword and cut the middle, you better hold on to survive. Indiana Jones, searching for some stones. Indiana Jones is gonna take you higher. Archaeology ain't all it's cracked up to be. Indiana Jones is gonna make you perspire. Digging lower, reaching higher, he's gonna set your heart on fire. Gonna bring the pain, but they're no match for LB Rain. Somebody tried to feed me monkey brains. I'll just take an apple, you know what I'm saying? LB Rain is here to save the day. He brought the stones back and the kid's okay. If you need a hero, it's plain to see. LB Rain is gonna set you free. Jones.